Hi everyone, this is Jen from Crystal Guidance, and I am proud to present to you my very first crystal comparison video. In this video, we're going to compare ruby and fuchsite, also pronounced Fuchsite, versus ruby and zoisite, also known as aniolite. So let's go ahead and get started first off with visually. Now generally you'll kind of notice that on this side I have all of the ruby and fuchsites, and on this side I've got all of the ruby and zoisites. You can easily see that generally the fuchsite is a lighter green, but that's not always the case, because as you'll notice, this one is pretty close in coloring. How dark the green is on the fuchsite depends upon how much chromium is in the crystal. Fuchsite is actually chromium-based muscovite mica. So when you add in the chromium, it gets us the beautiful fuchsite, which is sometimes known as chrome mica. So, since I've got these going, we'll go ahead and start with these. These are some of the few crystals that I have in both tumbled and raw form, so hopefully that will actually help you guys. With the fuchsite, you'll notice that it often has the cream color in here, which is the muscovite. And it also has encircled around it kyanite. This you'll always find, or I should say almost always find, a ring around the ruby in the ruby fuchsite. This one's a really good example as well. Whereas you will not find that ring at all in the ruby zoisite. So I'm going to show you the different pieces so you can see that kyanite ring showing up. That is something that you'll find that's one of the tail signs that you can see no matter what shade of color it is. This one you can really see the blue of the kyanite. And again, you've got that cream color of the muscovite encircling the ruby. You won't always see the blue, as you'll notice some of them have kind of the green kyanite instead of just the blue. And some of them you can really see that blue. Speaking of, this piece is actually just ruby and kyanite. And I've also got over here a sphere that is mostly the fuchsite and kyanite, with just a few hints of the ruby. Just so you guys can see a couple of different variations there. Now visually, over here with the ruby and zoisite, you'll notice it has the black in it. That's hornblende. You're going to find that only in the ruby zoisite. You will not find that in the fuchsite. Some people say because it is fuchsite and it does sparkle and leaves a glitter, that these you look for the sparkle. Well, if you notice, these sparkle too. So you cannot use sparkle as an indicator of whether it is fuchsite or zoisite, because they definitely have that sparkle either way. There we go, and get a little bit of that sparkle there. This one, not as much. I actually have found the Zoisite seems to sparkle a little bit more, but again, don't use that as your sign that you're looking for. What you are going to look for is the black hornblende. And this is hornblende. This is a hornblende schist. So, with the Zoisite, you're going to find that black hornblende. In the Fuchsite, you're going to see the muscovite often in there, as well as the ring. So the ring of the muscovite and the ring of kyanite. And you can tell generally these are around the same shade of green. It's not always the case, but typically. As you'll notice, this one's a little bit lighter. Not by much, though. And just for fun, I brought a ruby out. Alright, so I actually have something else out here. Ruby in Zoisite it's fairly common to find it faked. It's different stones that have been dyed to look like it. There's different variations to it, but this happens to be the one that my mom had beads of. She was excited, and I go, nope, it's dyed. You can see that it does have the black in there, but the pink, it's hard to say. When you put it up with another one, let me move those out of the way for a minute, you can really start to see the differences. You don't have the sparkle that the natural has. And the ruby looks kind of blotchy. Yeah, maybe it's just the skill of telling they're dyed, but you look for the coloring. But honestly, the easiest way is with a black light. Natural ruby will glow under a black light. These fakes will not. So let me turn off this light. I've got my overhead light on, so it might not do so well, but we'll see what I can get. This glowed really well. Let's see. There you go. See it glow? Natural ruby is going to glow under a black light. This one does not. That is the absolute easiest way to tell if your ruby is real or not. Alright, get my light back on. There we go. So, like I said, I got that from my mom, and I just earlier, for this video, took a hammer to this and split it in half. Let me see if I can get it to focus. Come on, little one. Notice that the coloring is not all the way through. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't tested it, but I think that that might be a granite that has been dyed. But that kind of gives you an idea of what the inside of these look like. So, alright, that's visually how to tell the difference. So, we've got the rings of the cream color and the kyanite that are around the Fuchsite. You've got the black of the hornblende in the Zoisite. Now, this is where we start getting, well, actually let me start here. These are little porcelain streak test plates. Now, the thing with this is they are actually supposed to both streak white. Notice I've already got a little bit on there. streaks white. This one was supposed to streak white with possibly a little green glitter, but we'll see. I haven't done these yet. Very white. So, streak testing isn't necessarily a way to identify these. Some of the other crystals that I'll end up doing will be identified, like lapis versus sodalite. You can tell by streak testing on those. But I thought I'd do that just for the science side of things. Now, for the bigger thing I've got. This is my baby. I love this thing. It has found glass crystals that I have bought that were supposed to be quartz. It's about $100 for the kit, but so worth it. Especially if you're somebody who's going to be working with things. So, we have the ruby and fuchsite. The fuchsite is a Mohs hardness of 2.5 to 3. The ruby zoisite has the hardness of 6.5 to 7. So that's a big difference. You'll be able to scratch these with a steel knife. So if you have one that's dark, you're not 100% sure, go ahead and give it a little scratch with a steel knife. It won't necessarily buffer out much, but it's also not very noticeable, especially if you just do a real small piece. But that is going to be, like I said, visually, if you can't tell, a scratch test is going to be your easiest method to tell them apart. So, these are all my personal pieces, so I don't mind if I scratch them. We know that since the hardness of the fuchsite is 2.5 to 3, a 5 is going to scratch it really easily, so I'm going to go ahead and go with that. And I will actually do it on one of these, since, like I said, they're mine, I don't mind. You see how easy that scratched? Got to be careful you don't stab yourself, but scratch it a little bit, and I'll show you. Not too noticeable. Get my finger wet. See? But then, like I said, did a scratch test, so I know, scratch test wise, for a fact, that this is ruby and fuchsite, not ruby zoisite. Whereas, again, number 5, since the hardness on the zoisite is 6.5 to 7, the 5 will not scratch it. That part you can't. We'll go here. It's catching on a few of those, but if you notice, it is not scratching. I'll do another one, because it was catching on the rubies. See? No scratch. And the fakes, I have not tried this. Let's give it a shot. Not scratching a little bit, but not much. But again, I think that's granite, and off the top of my head, I don't remember the hardness of granite. So, test kit is another good way of telling them apart. Alright, I'm trying to think if there was anything else. That is pretty much it. Freya, no. My cat's decided she wants to join us. So, visually, that's how you can tell them apart. Scratch test, that's another way. Just a little odd fun fact for you. This zoisite is green zoisite, which is what the ruby grows in. Blue zoisite is tanzanite. I thought that was fun. So, I hope this helps you guys tell which ones you have. If you're not 100% sure on the zoisite versus the fuchsite, I don't mind if you take a really good picture and show me. I don't usually do crystal IDs because it can be quite time consuming, but this is one that I can usually tell really easily visually. So If you guys have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to ask, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. This is just the first, and we've got more of the crystal comparisons to come. Sending you guys so much love and crystal blessings.